Welcome to our Ayurveda talk. As we talk tonight about some of the negative emotions that arise during the summer. Pitta emotions. What are the Pitta emotions? First of all, what's Pitta? Pitta is the dosha that the main element is fire element. So if that is your dosha, you know you're a Pitta, you know you're a dominant fire element person. It means that you have a tendency to have heat symptoms, and they show up in a lot of different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. So when you have heated thinking, it will oftentimes lead to heated emotions, negative emotions, right? We call them negative. I want to just tell you, though, that I'm giving you the Ayurvedic perspective on it, and then I'll give you a couple other things around that. But negative, there's no such thing as negative, positive. There's really none of that. Emotions are just emotions. They are all the emotions, all of them are just part of this human experience. And so I want to invite you to watch yourself when you have a part of yourself that wants to shut down certain emotions. That is going to set you up for having problems later on, because what will happen is those emotions that are coming to the surface will then get stored in the tissues, literally in your tissues, in the layers of the body. Remember, you are made up of layers, and you have all these layers that make up who you are. And we acknowledge those in Ayurveda and in yoga. They're called the koshas. You have a physical layer, a mental layer, an emotional layer, an energetic layer. You have all of those, and things get stored in all the layers. So when one thing gets released and removed, it then has a ripple effect into the other layers. So what happens when you're dealing with pitta emotions? It's a lot easier to have those pitta emotions when it's freaking hot outside. And guess what? It's freaking hot outside right now. It's so freaking hot that everybody, even your pitta individuals, your non-pitta individuals are not, they're also experiencing heat symptoms. Sorry, I'm getting it all confused. But so I'm actually having vata people coming in overheated, kapha people coming in overheated. And let me just kind of tell you how that shows up. So when you have a pitta person that has those heated emotions, they're hot, right? Intense, anger, frustration, impatience, criticism, like highly critical, not just of the people around them, but of themselves. Like they just beat themselves up. It's insane. It's that whole, they're always pointing the finger. The pitta people are the ones that point the finger. And then it's that whole one finger's pointing at everybody else and three fingers are pointing back at you. What happens when heat is rising in the other doshas, though? So vata is made up of ether and air. What does air do to fire? Whoosh, it intensifies it. So when you have a vata individual, all that air that starts getting overheated, look out. They're out of control. They are like a wildfire. They just take off, and they're just feeding the fire with emotions. What happens when you're kapha? Well, actually, the kapha people are even more scary because they're earth and water, right? And so when they start having heat, and I have a lot of clients that are like that, they're kind of pitta kapha people. I'm a vata pitta, but I tend to be more pitta in the summer. And then as the seasons change, I become a little more vata. So I kind of flip flop. Well, I have clients who are pitta kapha and they flip flop. So when it's kapha season in the spring, they tend to be a little more dominant kapha. But then when the heat kicks up, then they become a little more pitta. What happens with a kapha person? All that earth and water. We'll just think of a volcano, and heat starts building and building, and pressure is building and building and building. And those individuals, when they finally explode, it is explosions. Look out. Take cover. Okay. So what we really want to do is we want to mitigate it. We want to manage all this heat. And it's pretty relentless right now. We are dealing with so much. It's just way hotter than what we're used to here in Reno. And so hopefully you're listening, watching all the videos on how to deal with heat. I'm trying to give you guys lots of suggestions on my Facebook, Aspired Elements Facebook channel, and also Instagram. I'm trying to give those things to you, like cilantro juice and cucumbers and bitters and astringent foods. And those are going to help cool you down. All right, so let's talk about these negative emotions. When you have a negative emotion, it's impacting you. It's also impacting everybody else around you. So if it's out of control and it is coming out, typically it's going to get projected onto the people around you. Then and especially when you're dealing with heat, those people are pointing the finger. They always think it's everybody else that has the problem, not them. Right? So when anger and criticism starts showing up, we start basically inflicting pain, emotional pain on the people around us. And then that impacts us. So, but you don't want to repress your feelings at the same time. So let me give you Ayurvedic's way of learning how to deal with these kinds of situations and resolving them in a way that is healthy and supportive. First of all, in Ayurveda, they recommend that when an emotion comes to the surface, it is better to just remove yourself if you can, or just stop, be still, and allow yourself to feel the emotion. So you feel it. You will let yourself feel it and drop into it. And then, so if you are experiencing anger, you stop, you breathe into it. You let the body feel the anger, right? And you allow the breath to kind of move with it. Now, what you want to do is you want to move into the body. Now, if your mind is going, God damn that son of a bitch, he, cut me off and whatever. That's the head is taking over. You have to drop into your body, and you're going to do that using your breath. So you have to make sure that you're using deep breath, big belly breath from the floor of the pelvis all the way up, and you open that throat. You inhale through the nose, exhale out the mouth, or you can inhale through the mouth, exhale out the mouth, because you want to pull this stuff up. Let it come up and out. All right. So you feel it, you breathe deeply, you open your mouth, you let that exhale out. Remember, because heat can come out through the mouth, more heat can come out. Okay, cool air comes in through the nose, and then hot air comes out through the mouth. And then you want to actually do some contemplation. You go inward and you feel where is this anger in my body? You explore it. And if you're able to, after you breathe into it, after you surrender to it, that means you accept this emotion. You are not pushing it away. You are not saying, nope, can't go there. No, you feel it. You experience it. You breathe into it, in and out. And what'll happen is on its own, it will dissolve. That is what happens. I'm telling you from experience, this is what happens. So if you know that there is something that has caused this anger, then you have to drop into the contemplative part of that and maybe journal about it. Journal about it and get it out that way. All right. Now, when I want to just make sure I'm going over what they're saying here in Ayurveda, if there's another thing. When you are dealing with the anger and you've journaled, you want to try to move into the witness. So we have two parts of ourselves. We have a part of ourselves that gets engaged and involved, and oftentimes it's called the ego. Then we have this other part of ourselves, the witness, the observer. Try to just be the observer. Once you've allowed yourself to feel the emotion, then it's easier to be the observer and the witness. And at that point, that is where you can kind of step back and go, if this were my friend or if this were my relative and I was giving them advice on this situation from a very neutral place, what would I say? How would I look at it? And if you're able to do that at that time, then you can do that. You can come to some understanding of where the source of the anger has come from. Is it a thought source? Is it an emotion that just came up out of the blue? Sometimes that does happen. So you look at the feeling and the emotion, and then if you can not label it, but more go into the body, start recognizing if you're thinking and using the mind and perception and analyzing and judging, go into the body and breathe, 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 breathe. And by doing that, you're giving yourself freedom. Okay, that's what you're doing. You're giving yourself freedom because you allowed yourself to experience that emotion. You felt it fully in the body. You recognized where you're experiencing physically. You allowed breath to move with it in and out. And as a result of that, you allow that emotion to then dissolve. And by the way, I just want you to know this technique is taught by Michael Singer. He wrote The Untethered Soul. It's taught by Eckhart Tolle. It's taught by all these people. And this is how they deal with it in Ayurveda, which has been around thousands of years. So it's tried and true by a lot of different masters. Okay, try it out. Next time you have something, give yourself that freedom. You want to allow those emotions to be your accepting, not pushing away. Resistance is going to shove it down, make it build. All right. So if you have any questions on that, and by the way, I do a lot of this type of therapy, somatic therapy, working this stuff out of people's bodies. I would love for you guys to come in. I combine Marma with breath, Marma therapy with breath. It is magical. It is really profound. So come and try it out sometime and help clean out. We need to clean out the stuff that we carry around, the stress, the trauma, the resistance. Doesn't belong there. All right, you guys, let's move on to our practice. Pitta reducing samana practice.